PWCC is a great way to sell your sports cards. If you're looking for a way to support the Cajun Cardboard YouTube channel, consider using the promo code Cajun, all caps, C-A-J-U-N, when you're selling your cards on the PWCC marketplace.
Hey guys, Brandon with Cajun Cardboard coming at you from the great state of Louisiana. Today's video is going to be about the 5 hottest active players in the NBA as far as their card appreciation over the last 3 months. So which 5 players' cards have gone up the most over the past 3 months? Players that are still playing. You'd be shocked. There's a lot of retired retired collectible players that fit into the top 10 of the most, whose cards have appreciated the most over the last 3 months. But today we're talking only about active players. So one would think you're primarily going to be talking about the players that are in the NBA playoffs right now, but there is a shocker at spot number 1, which nobody would have guessed because his team flamed out and is not in the playoffs. So stay tuned till the end. You'll figure out who's number 1. We're going to go in order 5 through 1. First, let's start by looking a little bit at the basketball index itself over the last 3 months. Remember, indexes are sort of tricky little animals here. It is all of the cards in the card ladder. I'm always using card ladder for my index data here and my macro approach here. So you're talking about a total, all of the cards, let's see, where does card ladder say? Well, it doesn't tell you the total number of cards, but it's going to be a lot of cards, a lot of different price points. The card market, basketball only, is down 3%, 2.5% over the last 3 months. Let's scroll back real quick so you can see everything. Only 5 segments of the hobby are in green over the last 3 months. This is actually trending better though, because over the last 1 month there's a few more. Soccer is negligibly, is that a word, up. TCG is as barely up as you can get without being normal and flat. Pokemon's up, tennis is up, and football is up. Tennis is way up, so I'm not sure what's really driving that, but don't care enough about it to look. So basketball cards down 2.56% over the last 3 months. All right, that being said, let's look at number 5. Who is the 5th best performer, active player on the card ladder index over the last 90 days? It's none other than your now 3-time MVP, should be 4, but 3-time MVP, Nicola Yic. Let's look at some of his cards that are doing the best. His base PSA 9, his red, white, and blue raw is a $400 card. His base raw from 2015, should have a lot of data points there, is actually $198. Somebody out there is paying $150 for his PSA 7 base card. That does not make a lot of sense, but somebody really jumped on that one. That one seems really odd. His base card raw, this is a good one to look at over the last 3 months. Started as low as 107 and finished most recently, the most recent sales, 198. So real money there, big money. People buying raw, hoping to grade with PSA and then flip. His green PSA 10 is super rare card. That's a pop 27. You don't see this green parallel very often. I love 2015 Prism parallels. They are really, really good looking. 2013 is my favorite. 2012, 2015 are near close seconds. And as you can see, you're not going to see this card sell a lot, but from $29.50 up to $5,000, that's a $2,100 margin in there. So big numbers right there. I know a huge light blue sale occurred last night, which is really big for the Jokic market. So Nicola Yic is number 5 on our list. I should have told you. Well, I'll tell you when we get there. Number 2 on the list is going to be Jamal Murray. I'm sorry, number 4, the 4th best performer over the last 90 days is going to be Jamal Murray. His base raw is only a $12 card. So if you wanted to go out and scoop up 10 of them for $120, it's there to be had. That's actually higher than it was. Again, I don't think people really dig 2016 Prism base cards. There's still a lot of those out there. Nothing like 2018, 19, 20, and beyond, but there's still a lot of base cards, even from 2016. But when you start getting into the more important cards, his Mosaic here, people didn't really dig. This is when Mosaic was kind of an offshoot of Prism before it was its own product, so it was called Prism Mosaic. Looked just like the Prism card right there, except it's got, a little different image, and then it's got the Mosaic pattern in the background. That's a pop 443. That card's up 150% over the last 3 months. Let's see if we can scroll over here and look at the graph. Look at that graph, guys. Oh my gosh. That is steep, to say the least. A $51 card, $46 card. The most recent one sold for $127. That's 150% increase, pretty impressive. The Starburst is going to be a little bit low pop too here, pop 66. Back then, Starbursts were pretty rare cards. The most recent one sold for $340. Starburst PSA 9 also performing well. So Starburst 9 and Starburst 10 doing really well. There's just not too many of those out there graded. These are some PSA 8s and PSA 9s out here. That is really crazy to me. Silver BGS 9.5 is Silver PSA 10, sort of the benchmark card. That's sort of the flagship card. If somebody wanted to invest in Murray but be able to get out in the event, they make it to the finals and maybe sell it before the finals begin, that would be pretty impeccable timing. This one is actually only up 4%, but it's a strange little graph here because in April, this card hit a monster 389. It's come all the way back down to 260. So I'm not sure what the move is there on those silvers, but interesting to see. Remember, these silvers are popped 200 in 2016 for Murray, as opposed to popped in the thousands for Luka Doncic and Zion and John Morant and all of those folks, and Trae Young, etc. So Jamal Murray is the second best performing. So two Nuggets in fifth and fourth place. Sorry, the fourth best performing. The third best is going to be no surprise here, although the series is now tilted in Dallas's favor. I think they're down 2-1, and they should be playing tonight. Maybe not tonight, but tomorrow night, something like that. So I think it's 2-1 Dallas in this series. But SGA cards are the third best performing. I shouldn't say that because we're skipping over somebody because I just did a video. Haha, it's Anthony Edwards. Everybody knows I just did an Anthony Edwards video, so I didn't feel like talking about Anthony Edwards again. Anthony Edwards is actually the second best performing. But Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is next on our list. His base raw optic, who I don't know why anybody would ever buy this, is actually up. And again, it's going to be kind of skewed. I mean, look at the crazy variations. This is just people looking at the screen and conjecturing or prognosticating or, trying to pontificate whether or not the card that they acquire could get a PSA 10 if they ship it off, and then looking at the margins between raw and 10 to see if it's even worth it. I wouldn't even think a raw $15 card to a PSA 10 would really be worth it. Well, I guess we'll get to look and see in just a second what his Optic 10 is worth. The next best performing is his base Concourse Select. Huge population. Pop 571 is a $70 card. That kind of surprises me. That's just somebody jumping on the bandwagon thinking he might win a chip here. I don't think that should be a $70 card. There's just way too many of those out there. His rookie signature silver, now that's a big card. Pop 12. You're talking about real dollars here, right? 1675 before that, 1100, 1000 jumps all the way to 1675. Blue Velocity 9, strange card. Sort of a color match. I guess it's sort of that deep blue. It almost looks purple though. Almost looks like it's not a color match because it almost looks like a purple Velocity. His green PSA 10, pop 258. I think, if I'm not mistaken, green was retail back in 2018. I might be wrong on that. Somebody double check me and let me know if I'm crazy. But the last two sales, 252, way up here at 277. The highest it's hit in the last 3 months is 300. So you're looking at a $300 card. If you're looking for a nice alternative to the silver, the green is one that you can look at. Now remember, SGA's rookie cards in 2018 Prism, and a lot of you may have forgotten this because nobody really looked at these in quite some time for the most part, is that it's missing the rookie shield. So these cards were missing the rookie shield, but these are SGA rookie cards. So his rookie green looks to be about a $250 card right there, and it's up 45% over the last 3 months. Red, white, and blue following a similar pattern, but I'm guessing there's going to be more of these. Yeah, twice as many. That's a terrible picture. It doesn't look like that. It looks like a barbershop pole. PSA 10 is about a $281 card. I would much prefer the green, especially at 258, over the red, white, and blue at pop 545. The green is just a better looking card to me. The red, white, and blue, I guess, is a perfect color match because his Clippers uniform in this picture is red, white, and blue. You know, blue and white with some red trim. But let me know in the comments. I would much rather the green than the red, white, and blue. Personally, his red 299 is a $1,600 card, and that's sort of a color match, like I said, with the trim of the Clippers, I guess. Blue would probably be a better color match. But that PSA 10 is a $1,639 card. Look at that graph right there. Somebody could have scooped one for in the 900s, 945, 998, 930. The last one sold for a whopping $1,700. That is a really, really big number on that card right there. Here is that base optic at $72. So maybe somebody up here who's picking up all these raw, which seem to be running, at $15, a whopping $15. Here's what you can hope for. It's a pop 2,331 for his non-rust optic base, but the graph is showing a 32% increase in the value of that card. So a little bit of wiggle room. Buy for 15, grade for 20, you're in for 35, let's say 40 with shipping and all that crap. Now you've got a $30 gross margin. You sell it at $72 on eBay. You don't really have much margin there. So I don't know what's going on with people buying all the base optics, but it is what it is. But here's that blue color match PSA 10. That's a $2,800 card. Now that's a nice alternative to the silver right there, in my opinion. PSA 10 Pop 40 card last sold for $29.52. It's about $600 up from the prior sale. All right, who's next on our list? Number 2 on our list is Jaylen Brunson, who is just behind Anthony Edwards. But again, remember, I'm not going to talk about Anthony Edwards cards because we just did a video on that and I just looked at him. So Anthony Edwards is number 2, remember. Although that video that I did was before these last 2 games that they dropped, in dramatic fashion to the Denver Nuggets. No slight, again, Anthony Edwards was an animal in that last game 4, but nevertheless, they lost. I think he had 44, 5, and 5, which is no slouch right there. We've got some Jaylen Brunsons, and it's really strange because the 3 best performing Jaylen Brunson cards over the last 90 days are all PSA 9s. I thought that was odd. His base PSA 9 is a $40 card. That seems really odd to me. That is a Pop 502. There's also zillions of PSA 10s. It was as low as $6 this year. You could have bought a PSA 9 base Prism Jaylen Brunson for $6. That's 1/3 of the cost to grade a card. Then somebody said, you know what, 6 is too low. I'm going to buy it for $25, and I thought that was too high. Now people are paying, in the 40s, and some people into the 50s. It's even hit $50. That's a PSA 9 base. Again, you're really dumpster diving if you're buying base PSA 9s from 2018. I'm sorry, there's no way around that. The Hyper PSA 9 is only a Pop 70. You're talking about a pretty rare card and an impossible to grade card. These are very, very difficult to grade. This card recently hit a high of $100. That card's up 244%. The Jaylen Brunson Ruby Wave card, Pop 55, similar pop to the Hyper. What was the Hyper? 70, Pop 55 for Ruby Wave. Again, PSA 9, it jumped as high right here as 112, and it's come back to 65. But even at 65, it's still a big number as far as increase goes. Here's the Hyper 10. This is what I want to show you. Look at that pop. It's Pop 22, and it's because there's refractor lines running horizontally on it, which affect the grade, of course. I guess that's part of surface that PSA considers when grading. This card was as low as 139 in March. Here we are 2 months later, and the card is $355, it looks like. Pop 22, just not a lot of those out there. The Blue Ice would probably be the best color match out there. I shouldn't say it doesn't match the color the best, the True Blue would, but it is serial numbered to only 99. So this PSA 9 is a Pop 20. And again, that card's come down as well. I think we have seen the end of the Knicks. I predicted when they were up 2-0. I know this is going to sound like, sure you did, prove it. I did prove it because I bet it on FanDuel. I predicted the Pacers are going to win 4 in a row and take them out. I just think he's being asked to do too much. When they switched Aaron Nesmith onto Jaylen Brunson, it looked to me like this is the beginning of the end. The Pacers have won 2 in a row. They got Big Mo on their side going back to the Garden. We'll see if Jaylen Brunson can have another historic performance in the Garden, but he's hurting. They're missing OG Anunoby. They're missing Julius Randle. They're missing Bogdanovich. They're missing Mitchell Robinson, my guy from New Orleans. So 4 potential starter type players, 1 an all-star, and then OG Anunoby was the piece that they went out and got in that trade where they dumped Quickly and RJ Barrett. The purpose of OG Anunoby was in these playoffs, and he was a big-time factor guarding Tyrese Halliburton. He's out. So I just don't think there's any way in the world DiVincenzo can keep shooting like this. Josh Hart can keep playing like this. Those guys are not prolific offensive players, although they had a good first 2 games. I think we're starting to see the true colors, and I think the Pacers are going to take this series. This may not age well, but that's just my thought. Silver Jaylen Brunson, PSA 9, up 88%. Look how many Jaylen Brunson cards are up. More than 50%. I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 20 cards over 50%. So Jaylen Brunson cards doing really well. I would be really careful touching Jaylen Brunson cards right now because I think a lot of these people thought they were going to be able to get in. The Knicks would have a chance to get to the conference finals, and then they'd get out. So I think there's a lot of flipping going on. I don't think there's a ton of Jaylen Brunson super collectors out there, although I would guess that number is growing because he is proving to be not just another point guard. He's a really good player player despite appearances. And then card number 1, I don't know if anybody's guessed this or why they would guess this. This is nuts. The only thing I can think of is maybe his cards just dropped too much in the first place. But the number 1 performing player over the last 90 days, and again, I think a lot of this is going to be attributed to the 60 days prior to the last 30 days because the Houston Rockets have not been a factor in the playoffs because they're not in it. But it would be Jaylen Green, who did pick it up right when Şengün got hurt. He went apeshit and started to put up bonkers numbers, and for whatever reason, found some degree of efficiency in the NBA, and therefore his cards are running more than anybody. Remember, Anthony Edwards is number 2 between, snuggled in there between Jaylen Green and Jaylen Brunson. So Jaylen, Anthony Edwards, Jaylen Green at the top. And his red, white, and blue is we're not going to talk about because it's a $21 card. First real cards is Orange Ice. Orange Ice was a lot more common than people think. It's about $348 right here. But look at that graph right there. So the last one sold on May 11th. $100 somebody paid for that card. Just recently is Purple Wave. That's a PSA 8. Nobody cares. White Sparkle PSA 10. Now you're talking about a Pop 7 card. Look at that graph. Somebody paid $1358 in March. $3,500 2 days ago. That is a humongous number for a White Sparkle Pop 7. Let's keep going until we get to some important stuff. His blue NBA 75th. I always thought these were really, really good looking cards. This is 2021 Prism we're talking about, of course, and rookie cards. All of these are going to be Prism rookie cards. Remember, these indexes are going to be very Prism dominant, right? Because Card Ladder has a tendency to make sure they get the Prism parallels in there for a lot of these ultra modern players because so many people are buying and selling those cards. So you're not going to see a lot of Revolution or a lot of Obsidian or a lot of Noir or Court Kings or even really all the various levels and parallels of RPAs and Flawless, Immaculate, and National Treasures and things like that. But this Jaylen Green PSA 10 massively up. There's been a few sales here. That blue 75th anniversary, I don't think that's numbered. There's 252 of them in PSA 10, so certainly it's not numbered. Again, I'm not real familiar with that product. Silver PSA 9, $60. I would bet you, and I'm going to go on a limb, and I'm going to bet you that his PSA 10 silver wasn't even $60 90 days ago. All right, so this was a $16 card, his silver PSA 9, and most recently sold for $36, so a little over double. What was his PSA 10 60 days ago? I was wrong. So it was $115 for a silver PSA 10 Jaylen Green, and now that card is $217. So that's kind of the flagship card that you would invest in. Tons of Jaylen Green cards over doubled, right? These are cards that have doubled. Red Ice Raw, base PSA 10, $31. That card was as cheap as $12 90 days ago. What do we got? Ruby Wave PSA 9, Silver PSA 8, Silver PSA 9, Orange Ice 9, the Blue 75th, all the cards we looked at. Look how many of Jaylen Green's cards are more than double. If you see 100%, that means the card doubled over the last 90 days, and then a lot of them that are right under that. So that's our list, guys. Here's the deal. This is what the list looks like. These are, again, I am focusing, and I should have mentioned this. When I did my search, I filtered these to players who had more than 50 cards in the index. And so Dante DiVincenzo may be up, 6,000%. I don't freaking know. I didn't look up Dante DiVincenzo because Card Ladder doesn't have enough of his cards in the database for it to be reliable data. Even this is a little bit of a stretch because, as you can see, all of the cards that have done the best have been Prism-based cards, which is because the Card Ladder database for these particular players is very Prism dominant. But Jaylen Green, on average, his 52 different cards that are in the Card Ladder database are up 103%. Like we said, Anthony Edwards, a distant second at 60%. Jaylen Brunson, Manu Ginobili up 30%. And again, I clicked on this and looked at it. It's a bunch of Argentinian versions that have sold recently that have caused that price to spike. SGA up 25%. Grant Hill and Dwayne Wade are two really legendary players that I think are they're not Shaq, Kobe, Curry, LeBron, Jordan collected, but there are Grant Hill and Dwayne Wade collectors out there. Let's keep that in mind. The Grant Hills are up 23% and Dwayne Wade's are up 17%. Good to see. Jamal Murray was on the list, and then way down here we've got Jokic. How about Kareem cards being up 11%? And there's 170 different Kareem cards. There's more Kareem cards in here than there are Nicola Yic. Carmelo Anthony and Kevin Garnett also deserve some love. So that's it for today's video, guys. Nothing, there's no massive crazy conclusion. I just thought it was odd that Jaylen Green is kicking everybody's asses, and the Houston Rockets are not even in the playoffs. I do think they got the number 3 overall pick in the lottery, which this will be one of the worst drafts in the history of the NBA, no matter what anybody says to the contrary. So congratulations. I guess they don't need another prospect. They need to deal that pick to somebody who wants it, and shore up their roster, because when Şengün comes back, you got a healthy Jaylen Green. Don't sleep on Cam Whitmore. Thompson is a damn animal, a two-way player who's a problem if he can learn to shoot. He's really going to be a problem. And then Jabari Smith Jr. actually took a step forward this year. And then you got your light-skinned veterans, Dillon Brooks and Fred VanVleet, coming in. Brooks actually did have a decent year and did his job and was not a distraction or a problem, much to my chagrin, because I expected that he would immediately flame out in a team with this many young cats out there. But he's kind of accepted his role, and he's actually been a good addition to the team. And Fred VanVleet's just doing what little fat guys do, putting up numbers and doing his thing at a pretty low efficiency rate. So anyway, it'll be interesting to see what the Rockets do in the offseason, or if they just stand pat. I don't think they need to use that number 3 draft pick, but Jaylen Green wins it, and I thought that was a surprise. That's it for today's video, guys. Not much to it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Keep collecting, stay positive in the hobby, and peace.